Hi, everyone, and a very warm welcome in particular to the startups watching this. If you are watching this, it's very likely you are a gaming or betting startup looking for investors or potential business partners, and possibly considering to apply for Pitch Ice at ICE 2022 as a way to gain exposure in front of these two groups precisely. And to help you with this process, I have invited today two investors who have loads of experience in supporting and investing in the startups in the gambling and betting sector, who have also participated in many of Clarion Gaming's startup initiatives. So we have Evan Hoff from Velo Partners, a specialist investment firm that invests in early growth companies in gaming and gambling, and Marcel Tober, Chief Strategy Officer from Grand Casino Baden, who also represents the casino's investment vehicle, Innovation 21. Evan and Marcel, thank you so much for joining me today, and also thank you for your continued support in our startup initiatives. Let's jump straight to the first question, and let's look at what really excites you in the world of gaming and betting nowadays. What are the trends that you are looking at in particular to invest in 2022 and beyond?
Thank you, and thanks very much. And as I've said in previous years, the Pitch Ice and the Launchpad has always been a really useful place for us. And give or take, every year we've ever been involved, we've always made an offer to someone. We haven't always succeeded, but it does indicate that the quality is there and that there's certainly investor interest every year that we've ever been involved. So what interests us at the moment, I think if we look back the last few years, there's obviously been headwinds in the European sector, so there's been enormous opportunities for the bigger players. As you know, there's all sorts of consolidation, which improves margin. There's lots of great opportunities, but for the smaller startups where we tend to be, that makes it a difficult place and has continued to make it a difficult place. So we've been a little bit shy. When we look at things, our sort of worldview is that this could be difficult. So we've tended to stay away, for example, from B2C things. But as we often say, you just think one thing and then a great funder comes along and you're like, wow, we need to really invest in that. And it drives right across our previously strongly held views that, for example, B2C is no good. So I would say that, we're a little bit agnostic. We're happy to look at anything that comes our way. We try not to have too much incumbent thinking, which says, that'll be very difficult and that won't. Like, for example, we've tended to believe that person-to-person friend betting amongst your friends, there's always been a category. It's been a Pitch Ice many times. It's always been difficult, but we were discussing an opportunity that came in this week. And we said, you know what, their numbers look quite good. Maybe this is the one that then, unlocks it a little bit. And I think that happened in the US with daily fantasy and that. Fantasy had become a fairly difficult business, very difficult for new players. And then obviously daily fantasy came along and just like rode right over it. And obviously FanDuel and DraftKings, were monstrously successful on the back of that. So we're looking at, US has been a good place for us the last few years. We've got some sports data businesses, affiliate type of businesses, people who feel that they can play in and amongst the big players rather than take on the big players.
So pretty much any trend, as long as it's investable and interesting and a good business from your perspective.
I think that sums it up. Yeah.
So that's in terms of kind of trends, your investment trends. And what about the startups themselves? What are you looking for in them?
So, for us, it's not that difficult, actually. We've learned this over the years. The two things really are, it's the founder. And I know it's trite to say that, and everyone says we back great founders, but that's really what you're looking for. You're looking for someone who actually really stands out, someone who can solve problems, has the drive, has the energy, has the grit to go through the tough times. On the one hand, so it's founder. And on the other hand, we're less worried about the business plan initially as we are worried about the addressable market. So if there's a decent sized addressable market and a decent founder, those two can generally marry up and make something interesting. And because we've been in a world and we continue to be in a world, we see this particularly in our casual games portfolio, valuations are very aggressive. And so the total addressable market needs to be substantial in order to really justify the kind of valuations that people are asking for. So those are the two things for us. We look at those. If those are a match, then we've got strong interest.
And for all of those considering pitch ice, what does a perfect pitch need to look like for you?
So we kind of often break that down into two categories. We look at founders, for example, at ICE, we have our stand, as we were discussing earlier, for the RNG Foundry, which invests in slot studios. So we don't mind if two great mathematicians come along or two great game designers come along who've got no experience running a business. Then for them, we'll actually give them a template, say, look, you need to understand your costs, you need to understand timelines, you need to understand cadence of game delivery. For example, these are the important things. And build a financial model, but we'll help you with your presentation to us almost, because we can see the pedigree that you've got, we can see the talent you've got, and that's kind of enough for us to build around. So that's the one category of founder. The other category of founder is someone who's had business experience, who's maybe more commercially savvy or commercially experienced. Those people we actually expect to understand the business, and we want to see their pitch deck without us really helping them along. And we do that not because we so much believe in the business model or the business forecast. Usually these things are never accurate. But we like to see the thinking that they go through. And we find that a pitch deck, an experienced founder should be able to put a good pitch deck together. Frankly, a university student can do it, because you go on Google, look up the 10 best pitch decks, and you'll find the first pitch deck for Airbnb and the first one for DraftKings, for example. Everyone's published these things. So, and what if I drill down, what we really want to understand, we understand, as I said, the costs. We want to understand maybe the first year of the life of the business, see if they really know what that journey is going to look like before they're revenue producing. These are the tough times. And we want to understand, do they understand their own unit economics? So we major very heavily on unit economics, which I suppose in a casino business is lifetime value, cost of acquisition. In a slots business is my cost of production versus the expected value from a game, and so on and so on. But we really want to understand, do they understand the business they're actually getting into?
Awesome. So for those startups that might still be on the fence about whether to apply for Pitch Ice or not, what would you tell them?
I always say to people, you've got to do it because it's great experience. Whether you need the money now or whether you don't feel you're ready, I always say you get out there, it's great experience pitching to people. It helps you, a little bit like when people are, being a teacher helps you, you have to understand your subject before you can be a teacher. So when you pitch to someone and you try and encapsulate something in essentially a 3, 4, 5 minute elevator pitch, it helps you really zone in on the important stuff and shout out the noise. And you might think you've done that 100 times in working, but often people are much too close to their own detail. And doing a pitch really helps you understand, some of the key issues in your own business that you're looking to face. So I always say to people, do it, because, you don't know what will happen. You don't know what kind of feedback you might get. You've got to be open and humble enough to see that someone in the audience or on the panel might say, well, have you considered this or that? And that could be a sort of nugget that you'll then. So I always say to people, like, what do you lose? And sometimes people say, oh, we're in stealth mode and we see. I'm like, come on, like everything's been done. Like I've not seen a business that hasn't been done before, one way or another. And it's really all about the execution. I mean, people often ask us, to sign non-disclosure agreements, which we do from time to time. But we're like, come on, do you think us as investors are going to steal your idea and try execute on it? The hard part is the execution. So I often say to people, put it out on a panel and, test it. See what people think. You absolutely lose nothing by doing so.
Awesome. So experience, feedback, and possibly investment from Velo Partners as the possible benefits of applying and participating in Pitch Ice. Thank you so much, Evan, for your time, and again for supporting us. And I guess you at ICE.
My pleasure. All the best. Thanks very much.